In the corridors of power in Washington, a silent witness has returned to its place of honor, the bronze bust of Winston Churchill. This isn't just a piece of decor, it is a calculated, thunderous message sent from the heart of the US to London and to the world. America is looking for giants, leaders who stand firm in the center of the storm, not politicians who wait to see which way the wind blows before making a move. As the fires of conflict continue to ravage Ukraine and the terrifying shadow of an Iran-Israel war looms larger than ever on the horizon, a fracture is appearing within the very foundation of the transatlantic alliance. Why has British Prime Minister Keir Starmer left American leadership feeling so profoundly disappointed? Is the special relationship we've relied on for decades being hollowed out by small-scale political calculations? Today, we go behind the closed doors of high-stakes diplomacy, where a late offer of military support is viewed as a betrayal, and where the ghosts of the past are actively shaping the future of American national security. Can we truly count on our allies when the bullets start flying, or is the US standing more alone than we care to admit? Let's dive in. To understand the current tension, we have to look at a specific moment that left Washington reeling. In the high-stakes theater of modern warfare, timing isn't just a detail, it is everything. Reports have surfaced that the US leadership expressed profound dissatisfaction with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer regarding a critical delay in military commitment. The bone of contention? The deployment of British aircraft carriers. In the eyes of American military planners, a true ally stands shoulder to shoulder before the first shot is fired. Yet, the word from the Pentagon is that Starmer's offer of carrier support came only after the decisive phase of the engagement had been won. To many in the U.S. defense establishment, this wasn't an act of bravery, it was an act of political convenience. It's the difference between a partner who bleeds with you and a spectator who joins the victory parade. This brings us to the return of the Churchill bust to the seat of American power. For the American public, Winston Churchill isn't just a British figure, he is the gold standard of wartime resolve. By reinstating his likeness, after it was notoriously removed by a previous administration, the current leadership is sending a visceral signal. We are nostalgic for the days of blood, toil, tears, and sweat. We are looking for the spirit of 1940 in an era where London seems more interested in committee meetings than carrier groups. The contrast is jarring. While Washington is domesticating the arsenal of democracy to support global stability, there is a growing fear that our closest ally is wavering. This isn't just about ships and sailors, it's about the soul of the special relationship. If the US is expected to lead the charge against the rising tide of global instability, we need to know that when we look to our left, the British flag is already there, not arriving 3 days late with an invoice for fuel. This friction comes at the worst possible time. As we see the shadow of an Iran-Israel war stretching across the map, the world cannot afford a divided West. We are witnessing a moment where history is being written in real time, and right now, the ink is being smudged by hesitation. As we analyze the cracks in Western leadership, we must look at the primary force driving this instability. The consensus between Washington and its allies remains ironclad on one terrifying point. The world cannot, under any circumstances, allow a rogue state to possess a nuclear weapon. We aren't just talking about a regional arms race, we are talking about a fundamental shift in the survival of the West. The shadow of an Iran-Israel war is no longer a what-if scenario, it is a when scenario. For decades, Tehran has operated like an octopus, its head safe in the Iranian capital, while its tentacles, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, strangle global trade and democratic stability. In the US, we see the devastating results of this gray zone warfare every time we look at the headlines from the Red Sea or the borders of Israel. But there is a deeper, more human tragedy at play here. The same regime that funds terror abroad is waging a brutal, systematic war against its own people at home. American audiences who value liberty above all else have watched in horror as the Iranian government crushes dissent, silences the voices of women, and executes those who dare to dream of a secular, free future. This isn't just a geopolitical chess match, it's a moral confrontation. When we discuss the Israel-Iran dynamic, we are looking at two completely different visions for the Middle East. One is a vision of innovation and defense, and the other is a vision of ideological expansion through chaos. The reaction from the American public has been one of increasing urgency. We ask ourselves, how long can we contain a regime that views death to America not as a slogan, but as a foreign policy objective? The international community is at a crossroads. While some European partners call for more de-escalation and nuanced diplomacy, many in the US military establishment are pointing to the map. They see the centrifuges spinning. They see the ballistic missiles being moved. The climax of this tension is approaching a breaking point, and the window for a peaceful landing zone is closing. If the deterrent fails, the cost won't just be measured in oil prices, it will be measured in the lives of young Americans and the very fabric of global security. While the drums of war beat louder in the Middle East, another front remains frozen in a cycle of destruction. The invasion of Ukraine by Russia isn't just a border dispute, it is a systematic assault on the very idea of national sovereignty. For the American taxpayer and the families of those serving in the U.S. military, the question isn't just about who wins, but at what cost. We see the images of civilian infrastructure, power plants, hospitals, schools being reduced to rubble by Russian strikes. This isn't traditional warfare, it's a campaign of exhaustion. This is where the voice of Ireland enters the conversation, offering a perspective that often clashes with the war footing of Washington and London. Ireland, with its long-standing tradition of neutrality and peacekeeping, has been trying to navigate a middle path. Their representatives have been vocal about finding a landing zone, a diplomatic off-ramp to prevent a total global collapse. To the Irish, diplomacy isn't a sign of weakness, it's a historical necessity born from their own centuries of struggle. However, this creates a profound political tension within the U.S. On one hand, there is a deep American desire to see an end to the bloodshed. On the other, there is the cold reality that you cannot negotiate with a regime that is actively targeting families in their homes. The political fallout in Washington is palpable. We are seeing a growing divide between those who believe in peace through strength and those who fear that our involvement in these forever wars is hollowing out our own country. The civil consequences are equally staggering. Beyond the billions of dollars in aid, there is the psychological toll. Every time there is a flare-up in the Israel-Iran proxy war or another city in Ukraine falls, the American public feels the tremor. We feel it at the gas pump, we feel it in our supply chains, and we feel it in the nagging fear that we are drifting toward a conflict we cannot control. The landing zone that Ireland dreams of seems like a mirage when the Iran-Israel war threatens to ignite the entire oil-producing heart of the world. Can diplomacy survive in an age of drones and ballistic missiles? Or are we simply witnessing the slow-motion collapse of the post-World War II order, where the only language left is the language of force? As we watch these pieces move on the global chessboard, the view from America is one of profound weariness mixed with a fierce sense of duty. For the average citizen in the U.S., the headlines about Israel, Iran, or the shifting sands of the Middle East aren't just far-off stories. They are personal. They represent the safety of our troops stationed abroad and the stability of our economy at home. We find ourselves asking, are American lives being put on the line because our allies are too slow to act? The frustration with leaders like Keir Starmer reflects a deeper American sentiment. We are tired of carrying the heavy lifting alone. When we see the Israel Defense Forces standing on the front lines against a regime in Tehran that openly calls for our destruction, we recognize a shared struggle for survival. But we also recognize that a full-scale Iran-Israel war would draw the United States into a conflict of unprecedented proportions. The world is looking to Washington for a sign. Are we still the indispensable nation, or are we stepping back? The tension between providing an arsenal of democracy for Ukraine and maintaining a carrier presence to deter Iran is stretching our resources thin. There is a growing conversation across the kitchen tables of America about our national priorities. We want peace, and we hope for the landing zone that the Irish diplomats speak of, but we are also a nation that remembers the lessons of history. We know that weakness often invites the very aggression we seek to avoid. As the global order shifts, the U.S. must decide if it will lead with the ghost of Churchill at its back, or if it will allow the vacuum of leadership to be filled by those who do not share our values. As we stand at this precipice, one thing is certain: the world is no longer waiting for leadership, it is demanding it. The contrast between the steady hand of the past and the wavering shadows of the present has never been more clear. Whether it is the instability of the Israel-Iran relationship or the fragile alliances within the West, the margin for error has disappeared. We must ask ourselves the hard questions. Are we prepared for the reality of an Iran-Israel war? Can the U.S. continue to bridge the gap between allies who hesitate and enemies who are emboldened? The return of Churchill's bust to the White House is a reminder that courage is not the absence of fear, but the resolve to act despite it. We hope for diplomacy, and we pray for that landing zone of peace, but we must remain vigilant. The security of Israel and the sovereignty of our own nation depend on a clarity of purpose that transcends simple politics. The coming months will determine the trajectory of the 21st century. Will we see a de-escalation, or are we witnessing the opening chapters of a much larger book of conflict? History is watching us, and so is the rest of the world. If you believe that American leadership and the truth matter more than sanitized headlines, we want to hear from you. Comment "Pray for Peace" below if you hope for a diplomatic breakthrough before it's too late. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to stay informed on the front lines of national security. In a world of noise, we bring you the signals that matter. Thank you for watching, and God bless.